Today we are talking about what it means to be original. We are talking about why originality is important, and we are talking about why staying innovative can keep you ahead in a noisy and crowded marketplace. Ada, what does originality mean to you?
So, to me, originality means just being real, being authentic. How do I put it? Like, someone would say, oh, you came up with an idea, but then I also had the same idea. But my thing about creative ideas or original ideas is you have yours, I have mine, right? When we execute it, we'll both execute it differently based on our experiences, on our environment, like how we grew up. Once we are not necessarily copying each other, it's original. And the reason why I really wanted to talk about this is in Ghana, it's originality is something else. It's just been thrown out somewhere. It's like once someone is selling an apple and the person seems to be thriving, it's like, oh, okay, you know what? I don't know anything about apples, but I'm going to start selling apples too. Which is weird because it's like the person was selling apples because maybe that's the person's interest. Maybe the person loves apples and is selling it. And then that's probably not your interest. And the worst thing you can do is to be a carbon copy of someone because it's stress. It's a lot of work. Just keep going back, referring to the person, saying, oh, okay, what's this person up to? All right, oh, the person's posting memes. I'm also going to start posting memes. Or, oh, funny captions. All right, let me insert funny captions. But me, oh, you're not funny. And that's the thing. It's like, it's a problem because you could have done so much. Maybe yours was plantains, and you could have researched on plantains, and you could have said, oh, I could bake plantains, I could boil plantains, I could do it in so many ways. And then people would say, oh, this person has knowledge in this, maybe I'll buy from this person. And it's a whole lot. I don't know, do you want me to keep going? Would you like me to keep going?
No, like seriously, can you see me just like, I'm nodding like a lizard here because like everything you were saying, I can totally relate to. I remember at the beginning of my own career, you know, it used to really, really hurt me. And I have a whole module in my course now about creating a brand that stands out in a noisy marketplace and creating a brand that is uncopyable. And the only way you can create a brand that is uncopyable is by being yourself. It's by sharing your authentic self. It's by sharing your own ideas that God has blessed you with. I feel it's so important for a lot of especially young professionals, young entrepreneurs. I mean, I do understand we are all inspired by something. We are all inspired by somebody. But the challenge is that we tend to focus so much on the people we are inspired by until one day we realize that we are copying everything they do. And the sad thing I feel for me is that some people don't even realize that it is wrong. They don't realize until you have been copied yourself, where you have felt that emotion of, you know, coming up with spending a lot of time, resources, hard work on creating an idea that somebody has just come and listed. And so you have suffered that emotion yourself. You don't particularly see how painful it is. And it's painful. And I used to always write about it. I even confronted a couple of people. Like, I was like, come on.
No, I know.
Like, this guy.
No, Gloria, you have been through a lot. No, I know. I knew this topic would resonate with you so much because you have been through it. Like, I mean, let me just say something. Like when it comes to originality and all these things, right? What I've realized is that once you are being your true self, you realize that you just thrive so easily. Like, you're able to come up with ideas, you're able to innovate. It just comes naturally because that is who you are. It's like you once it's like once you're not being someone else, you're not stressing. And the other thing is, it's like, for me, let me just give an example. Like, when it comes to events, like, think events, it's Gloria. It has nothing to do with maybe your bio or whatever. It's just who you are, because the thing is, one, you've been extremely consistent, and being consistent is tough because once it's not natural, it gets more and more hard to stay consistent. But once it's you always want to share. And that brings me to sharing. You share a lot of knowledge when it comes to events. And that's the thing. It's like people know, okay, this is an authority when it comes to events. And so when I think events, I think Gloria. And if you're standing on the sidelines going like, oh, you know what? I want to do the same thing that she's doing. It's not going to be natural. And so it's going to be very tough for people to be like, okay, let me think about this other person. It's like, it just doesn't flow that way. And one of the other things I've when it comes to business and stuff like that, well, I was mentioning the thing about plantain and apples and stuff, and I said if you were into plantain, you could probably share knowledge about how to make plantain recipes, what to, things like that. And people would be like, oh, okay, people would send you DMs, how do I do this? Or maybe, oh, let me buy plantain from this person. This person seems to know. Same with events. Like, okay, this seems like someone who is really good at what she does. Let me call her. Versus like, oh, someone who's struggling. And the other thing people don't realize is some of us on the sidelines can actually see when someone is a carbon copy of someone else. Like, it's so obvious. Like, sometimes even from your captions, not you, Gloria, but from someone else's captions, I can read and say, this sounds exactly like Gloria. Like, I'm able to like, no. It's like, you can see that it's forced. And it's just like, that thing is it's honestly, it's so hilarious. I'm like, be yourself. And the thing about being yourself is I don't know, I can't stress it enough. It's just effortless because it's you. Yeah. When you have a business, it's important for it to be you. Let's say you want to bring in a product. People always feel, okay, I need this one product, I'll be my entry product and I'll break the market. And people will just. And the other thing is, because we are in Ghana and people like to copy, when you bring that product, just know that you'll go and find the source and start selling that same product. Now, how do you stand out? How do you sell a product where so many other people are also selling? Okay, so let's say you are going to start selling one product. What you can do is, since this is something you want to do and this is you, authentically you, start putting out information about the product so that people see you as knowledgeable when it comes to that one thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you stick to one thing, but it can be that, or maybe let's say it's technology. So when it comes to tech, you are just sharing information, different things about that. Now, when you start bringing in products that have to do with technology, maybe computers or whatever, even if there are other people selling that, people will come to you because you sort of build like a trust when it comes to that. Especially Instagram. Like with Instagram, when it comes to Talkative Mom, like when I share information about motherhood and things, it's not always on the page. Sometimes it ends in the DMs. Like someone will send me a DM about, oh, what do you think about this shampoo or this lotion or something like that. Now, if I decide I was going to bring shampoos and lotions in, what do you think is going to happen? Those people would, once I put it out there, those people would be like, oh, you know what? I trust this person. I think I would like to buy from here. It's not just what it is. Other people may be selling the same thing, but it's like you have shared some sort of information that has built some trust in you and your followers, and now they decided to choose you over the others. And so that is one way of just breaking into the market or standing out, stuff like that, in a market where people like to copy. That is one of the ways. And once you are sharing knowledge, it doesn't necessarily have to be copy and paste. You go online, you go and read, and then just spew everything there. It has to, that's what I'm saying, it has to be you. It's like, let it be a product, for example, that you are even using. It shouldn't be, if you don't believe in something that you are doing, you can't just stand up and start saying, I'm using this thing, or you don't believe in it, you don't use it. It's honestly, then it's rubbish, because how are you selling something you don't even believe in? Once you are using it every day, people are going to realize, okay, wow, like a skincare, oh wow, look, her skin is actually, things like that. Like, it should be very, very natural, and it should be you. So that anytime they think about the product, they think about you. Anytime they think about a particular genre or like an industry, they think about you. Like, oh, okay, oh, events, okay, Gloria, oh, okay, that kind of thing. Like, let it be very natural. Let it be you. I can't stress it enough.
One of the things I always teach inside of my class, you've been in my class, one of the things I always teach, and one of the things I particularly stress on now, is creating a brand that is a reflection of you. Creating a brand that is around a story that resonates with you personally. Because I feel like, I mean, one of the reasons why, or the main reason why we created an event planning business is because when I went through my entire wedding planning experience, not living in Ghana and getting married in Ghana, I realized that there was a huge gap. I mean, at the time when I was getting married, I got married in 2001. Oh my God. Every time I say that, I feel so old, man. But I mean, I got married in 2006. And I remember in 2005, I remember, you know, looking out for a wedding planner here in Ghana who I could hire, who could help us be able to plan this wedding. Number one, because we didn't live here and we didn't know who to ask for what. And we had been away for so long that we had pretty much lost touch with a lot of the people who would be able to help us. So it was literally my poor mom. She was the one who, you know, had to go find whatever we needed, had to go find all of the vendors. And also, I mean, my wedding, I enjoyed my wedding, but I also found it a little bit frustrating at some point. And I realized that it was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by the entire process. And even though I was excited that I was getting married and I was doing half of the stuff myself, if I had to do it again, I would rather that a professional wedding planner do it. Well, now I'm a professional wedding planner, so I do it myself, right? But at the time, I thought, Ghana needs this. And that's how we researched and found out that there was a lack of event professionals catering to individuals and, you know, brides who were looking to get married back home. And so our core, our ideal client is the bride who doesn't live in Ghana, who's looking to get married in Ghana and needs somebody here. And I can so relate to that person because I've gone through it myself. I know what they're going through. I know exactly what they're looking for. I can speak their language because I have been through the exact shoes that they're walking in right now. You see what I mean? Exactly. So what I always say inside of my class is, find that story that really pushes you to want to do this. If you want to do, I mean, it doesn't even have to be events. If you want to start any business, a creative business, whatever business, selling products, retailing, whatever, and your sole aim is just to go in and make money, you will be so frustrated because let me tell you, entrepreneurship here in Ghana is something else. But aside from that, I find that if you can really find another deeper meaning to your business, like you as an example, you started Talkative Mom because you were frustrated as a young mom, not being able to find the information about raising kids here in Ghana, what products to use, what to be looking out for. And that story resonates so deeply with you that whatever product that you choose is something that you have tried and tested and, you know, can stand and vouch for. So your story is different. My story is different. So if you come on my page and you lift my caption and you go and change a couple of words and you try to make it your caption, it won't work because that's not who you are. And in the same way, it won't resonate with your audience because it's not real. It's not you. It's not from you. So it is so important that we remember, you know, to always, and I know it's scary, you know, trying to speak like yourself can be scary sometimes. You know, just trying to be yourself can be scary sometimes. But like you're saying, whenever you copy somebody, whenever you copy a different brand, this is what it does. It creates brand recall for that other person. Like you're saying, you read a caption and you think, oh wow, that sounds exactly like Gloria. Yes. So it doesn't help that person. All it does is it helps you remember the person they are copying. Exactly. So you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to sound like somebody, you know? And I used to talk about this, and then one day I was like, wait, why am I wasting so much energy talking about people copying what I'm doing or copying my design? The designs there, Charlie, that one, it used to give me headache. Why can you come up with your own design? Why are you copying my design? Like, seriously, it used to, It was so frustrating, man. It still is.
Yeah.
And you know what people say about, people always say that, oh, if somebody is copying you, then you should be honest. You should feel good because it is the highest form of flattery. If you haven't felt it, if you haven't felt it,
it's true.
Please,
it's
don't even try. But
it's really true. It's
what is your personal experience been? What is your personal experience been? Aside being a creative, you're a creative professional as well. Aside, you sharing your personal journey through Talkative Mom and sharing the products that you use for yourself and for your kids, which you think that other mothers could benefit from. But what has your personal journey been as an entrepreneur when it comes to originality and people copying your work?
So, all right. So 2014, right? I registered my company, Tiny Toes Events. All right. Everything was going well. I started kids planning and kids events planning, and it was just like I didn't know anyone else. I think there were one or two people who were into themed parties. At that time, it wasn't big, so I just felt like, standing out, everything is going well. One day I checked my followers and I started to see this kids, that, and then I'll go and look at their page and it's like, oh, okay, like the same kind of like balloon garland I made. Because back then, no one was making balloon garlands. Like people wearing things like that weren't happening, like props, in party props and things like that. So I was like, what is happening? All right. Fast forward, the next year was like more and more were erupting, and I started to get scared. And that's the thing, like at that time I didn't have the knowledge that I had now. At that time I was still sort of learning when it comes to business, and I was still sort of like immature. So when people started saying, you should also get into weddings because you're already into events, you should get into weddings, I just said, okay, I guess that's the natural step. But that wasn't the natural step because kids has always been my core like purpose. Honestly, I think now that I have kids,
you love kids. It's so obvious.
Yes, I love kids. Yes, I've always loved kids. Like, and let me even tell you this funny story. After secondary school, I worked 1 year at GIS. I was a teaching assistant there before I went to university. That 1 year where you stay home, and I made friends with the kids, and I built a relationship with them for years after that. And then every summer when I was in university, I would work with my aunt who had a summer school. Throughout the vacation, I would work at her summer school, and then I built a relationship with the kids there as well. So when I started Talkative Mom, a lot of them were already following me, and I had no idea. And then they sent me messages talking about like, oh, you remember when we were in school, you helped me with this, you did this. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I started to realize, because, I was already realizing that this was my purpose, but I wasn't too sure. But then it all came together. And then I realized, okay, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And the funny story is, one of the brand I said I'll be working with next month, it was one of the kids that I taught back at GIS then, that has, she spoke to her family, and then they decided they were going to use me. She never even told me directly. It was the person that called me, and I was like, wait, this surname sounds familiar. It's probably, and then she said, yeah, it's the same person. And the person said, oh, yes, it's the person you're thinking about. And I said, wow. And that's what happened. And I realized everything was aligning. And that's when I got the wake-up call, and I said, you know what? When it comes to weddings, that's not me. It's his kids.
You cannot come and kill yourself.
I cannot come and kill myself. I was like, go back and then revise everything you are doing, and realize that, you know what, it's kids. Kids is your core business. And then I decided, okay, you know what, so now I'm actually going to go back to Tiny Toes. But let me also tell you another frustrating thing. Now my company is registered as Tiny Toes Events, and then all of a sudden I start to see companies pop up, Tiny Toes, with the same name.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen it.
Tiny Toes shop, that Tiny Toes mother care, Tiny Toes.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, is this a no?
I was exactly. People kept sending it to me. They were like, what is this? I just saw a shop and it had your thing. And I was like, are you seriously? I registered this name and now people are just, I was like, okay, whatever. But that was the other thing that also put me off. But then now that I know what I know, this is my company. I've registered it. That's the name I'm going to be using. And I'm going to go back to what I was originally doing. I won't go back to actual party planning because now I have some other projects that I want to really work on. But I'll still be doing a lot of party rentals and things like that because I still want to be in that event space. And then concentrate on talkative mom, which is what I'm heavy on now. And with regards to innovation and stuff like that, like I would say that the blog has evolved and it's even going to evolve more next year. By next year, it's going to be something else. That one is a secret, but by next year, it's going to be huge. In Jesus' name.
Amen. So, I think one of the things I picked on from what you just said is, and I think that a lot of us, especially for young creative entrepreneurs here in Ghana, we don't take seriously, is trademarking your name. It is so important not to just register your business name, but also to trademark your ideas. And the reason why a lot of people don't do this is because it's such a lengthy process, and it's like, okay, whatever, it's a copy name, whatever. And I think that that's one route, that's one way to look at it. If you have an idea which you think, wow, this is $1 million idea, my encouragement to you as a creative professional or any other entrepreneur for that matter is you want to patent that idea. And then the second thing you want to be doing is, right now, we all understand that social media is powerful. Social media is so powerful that I feel as if in the next, if it hasn't already, I feel like it is overtaking traditional media now. A lot of, if you're a creative entrepreneur and you're not on social media, then, I mean, what on earth are you doing? Everybody is on social media. So another way to tackle the copycat problem is to make so much noise about your brand that everybody recognizes that you are the pace setter. So anybody who copies you automatically stands out as the copycat. Because you, as an example, you have a huge audience, right? You have a huge audience across brain concepts, across tiny tools, across talkative mode. You have an audience who love you, and we are all watching and we are all seeing what you're doing. And so when somebody else comes and they are trying to mirror you and trying to sound like you and trying to do this and the way you do it, it will become so obvious because you've done such a fine job of planting your brand in our minds. So I think that that's one of the things that's important for you to do as well. Like, make so much noise about your creative idea, about whatever it is that you are. I mean, if you're passionate about something, you don't even have to force it. It will naturally, you just find yourself talking about that thing all of the time anyway. So like you're saying, if you see something that looks like Planet Ghana, or you see something that looks like Planet Hub, or you see something that sounds like Gloria Buckman, you automatically get that brand recall that directs you back to my brand. Do you see what I mean? So that's number one, you want to patent your idea where possible. I think it's $300 or so to patent your idea. And if you feel like you have $1 million idea, listen, go and patent it, okay? Trademark it. So that if somebody comes up and they say, oh, I am also Tiny Toes Mother Care, you can actually say, I'm sorry, and get your lawyer to write to them and say, hey, madam, seriously. Seriously. I don't even know who, I have no idea who it is, but I'm just saying, you can actually get your lawyer, you can get your lawyer to write to them and say, madam, we appreciate that you're inspired by our brand, but this brand is already trademarked and you can't use this name. Okay? Or the second one is where we know you so much that, you already are a pace setter and you are an innovator in your industry, right? But for everybody who's watching, for everybody who's watching this conversation and, is going through that same process, I want you to think about it two ways. I want you to think about how you feel when somebody lends your idea and implements that idea. I want you to go back and, process that internal reaction that you get. when somebody left your idea.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel that feeling, and for you to experience that pain, and for you to also think back and think, wait, have I ever copied somebody? Because sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it, you know? You go and you see somebody's caption and you're like, wow, this caption is brilliant. And you save it and then you download the caption and you store it somewhere. So you want to also think, wait, have I ever done this with somebody before? And then I want you to, you want to put yourself in that state of awareness and realize that, wow, when somebody does it to me, it's so painful. So I shouldn't be doing it to others, so that together we are the change that we seek, Yeah. In the same way as you don't want to feel like that, you also should not do it to others.
Exactly.
And hey,
exactly.
I remember so much, and I think I've shared this before on Planet Hub, but when I went to Preston Bailey's class, this was one of the biggest questions. It's like literally everybody in the room was asking this question. What do you do when people copy your work? What do you do when people lift your idea? What do you do when people are trying to replicate your brand? And I remember so well what he said. And he said, there are two kinds of people in the creative industry, in the entrepreneurial world, wherever. There are two kinds of people. There are people who work really, really hard, who stay up day and night and come up with new ideas and try to constantly stay innovative and try to constantly lead with value. And then there are people who are just lazy, like they can't be bothered. People who are just lazy and they'll just sit and wait for somebody to come up with the idea and say, oh, this is a good idea. Pure water business, it's a hit. Pure water. There are just people like that. And what you need to recognize is when you are a leader in your industry, you have to get comfortable with the idea that a lot of people are going to take inspiration from you. And there's a very, very thin line. There's a very, very thin line between being inspired by somebody and trying to be like that person. Right? And unfortunately, a lot of people cross the line. The line between being inspired and being a copycat. A lot of people cross that. And you just have to be comfortable with the fact that, listen, if you're a leader in your industry, people are going to copy you. And what you need to do to combat that is not to spend time looking back and attacking the people who are copying you, but to keep innovating, to keep creating, to keep being a step ahead. And so when they copy you, it's like, oh, been there, done that, So think about it that way and think, you know what, it's fine. Been there, done that, moved on. And just keep creating. Because otherwise, you will fall into that trap of constantly looking over your shoulder that eventually it will cripple you and you will not even be able to be creative anymore.
Yep. When I was registering, because I registered Talkative Mom, and when I registered the brand, I asked the guy, I was like, oh, can you just find out if anyone else has this name? And the person said, there's no way, madam, no one else has this name. Talkative Mom said. So they went ahead and registered it. And then what happened was, like, as I was blogging and maintaining the page and stuff, why I realized this was what I was supposed to be doing was people would ask me, how are you doing this? How are you answering all these DMs? Because I would get, on the average, I get about 40 to 50 DMs every day. Some days I don't post out, get some DMs. And the thing is, I have never had any issues answering any of the DMs. Like, if I was doing anything else that I hated, I would see the DMs and I would get a headache. But with Talkative Mom, it's like literally I can't even wait to answer the DMs. Like, sometimes I'll reply with paragraphs in like my DMs, each and every DM. And I was like, wow,
a mini blog post.
This is what you're supposed to be doing. Because like, I love to talk, and so why not talk? So it's like, once it's you and it's not forced, and this is your passion, and I mean, it will come natural. There's nothing, like, I've never thought twice about what I'm doing now, and like all the ideas that flow, it all just comes because I know that I'm living in my purpose, and this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. You see?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I mean, people ask me all the time. People ask me, how are you able to do all of these things? You know, how are you able to be, plan people's events so successfully and still be able to manage all of these social media pages and still be able to go on YouTube and talk about weddings and still be able to answer all of our questions inside of your DMs? And I'm like, because you just get joy out of it, When you get joy out of something, that's when you know. That's when you know that this is it. Because it's never annoying, right? You're never actually fed up. I think that two things I find so fulfilling. Number one, creating, and number two, teaching. Like just teaching people what I know. I can't help myself. I just can't help myself. Like somebody will ask me, what do you think about this? And so I've got to the point now where I'm getting so many DMs especially from young professionals who are looking to start their business or who are looking to position their brand and things like that. And so what I've eventually done is I've just done, mini courses that people can just go and get, like, because I feel like I will respond to your DM, but I feel like it is not as, I wouldn't go as deep as I will in like a webinar, as an example. I think sometimes it feels to me like it's just surface level information that I'm giving. So instead, why don't I put together, a video that goes into a lot of detail that people can actually go purchase the video and get a lot more information. And I do the same with YouTube. There's so many things that people ask me that I can just redirect them to my YouTube. I just send them the video, the link, because the answer is already, I've got the question so many times that the answer is already on YouTube. Free for you to watch.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Yes. But once you find something that you're passionate about, it's just, and that's the thing, when you're just being yourself, when you're just living up to your true purpose and your true calling, it is not tedious. But when you try to copy somebody, when you try to mirror somebody, at some point you will find that, like you're saying, you can't keep up anymore. You really can't keep up. Because for how long are you going to try to? And eventually your audience will see you as a fluke. It hurts you in the end. It hurts you and it hurts your brand. Okay, so let me go see. I see that there's a lot of activity and I'm not even reading anything. I'm not even reading anything. Let me see what people are saying. Oh my God, it's so interactive today. Wow. You have a lot of love.